Welcome back to the streaming for the Jayco Herald Sun Tour 2018. Today, the Surfside Holiday Park's Warrnambool Stage 2, and well, there's been plenty of action already today, Dave McKenzie. There was a crash just 15 kilometres after the stage, yellow jersey involved in that fall, and well, it's a very long stage today, 208 kilometres in total. And there's a 7-rider breakaway. It took 30 kilometres for that to establish. But before we get too much into that, there were some race interviews you did yesterday with the riders Dave McKenzie caught up with first, second and third on yesterday's stage. And we'll turn to those interviews now.
Today, like you said, it was a big day yesterday. The crosswinds decided the race, and I like that kind of racing. It's going to be quite similar most of the way today, and finishing off on a really fun circuit that I've seen on TV many times. So looking forward to race that one.
As soon as I saw the profiles, I eyed this one off, and hopefully I can get a good result today.
Yeah, it will be challenging. Obviously, being 200 kilometres, when you hit the circuit and you hit Mount Buninyong, you're going to have some tired legs on a lot of riders, so it will be interesting to see how much it busts up on that climb. I think it will be hard, it will be fast. Obviously we're going to hit it at full gas. It's so close to the finish line, but yeah, I think we've got a good team for a stage like this.
Well, a great win yesterday for Lasse Norman Hansen, and Steele von Hoff has to be favourite for today. And then off the top of that, you speak to Cam Meyer, previous winner of the tour.
Well, obviously, yes. I mean, it's ironic in a way that, and I wasn't thinking about that this morning when I spoke to those three riders, but they were first, second and third on the stage. But I'd earmarked certainly Cameron Meyer and Steele von Hoff. They've both had good rides around this finishing course here in Buninyong. Of course, the National Championship circuit. They only do it one time, but it comes at the end of 200 kilometres, as you say. We saw the peloton roll out there. John Trevorrow, the race director, in the Honda Civic. And the wind was blowing, in fact, at the start in Warrnambool. And we're expecting it to blow up more as the race went out of town, but it didn't really happen. As you can see now, we're on live pictures now, Pat. The clouds broke up, the sun came out, and the wind dropped, ironically. We thought it would blow up, but it hasn't. And there's not too much wind here at the finish line either, is there?
No, there's a little bit of wind. It's going to be a headwind ascent of Mount Buninyong, the iconic climb that decides the national champion every year. But the riders have predominantly been pushing into a head or head cross all day until about 40k, 35k from the finish. They turn onto Mount Mercer Buninyong Road, one that is also used in the national championships for the individual time trial, and they'll have a slight tailwind in that section. That means the pace will go up. So still this breakaway, 3 minutes and 10 seconds is its lead as we cross over to look at the map of today's stage. And while all these roads are very well known to the riders of the past, particularly us in older versions of the Melbourne Warrnambool, yesterday we saw plenty of these roads covered as well. But today, this is where the race can be won.
Yeah, it certainly is. You look at it there. Starts to head inland over to the Western District. So we're heading from the southwest. And you can see those zigzaggy road,
the
way
change
the race
of direction.
route. Yeah, and that Mount Mercer Derreel Road, that's the part you talk about when they turn right and then turn left onto that course for the individual time trial. And we have driven in that last 50-odd kilometres. It's not flat. It's not mountainous, but it's not flat. So it's solid roads. And again, they don't have a lot of life in them, these roads. And the riders are getting to that area now. So it's going to be a hard slog and a tough gig for this breakaway to stay clear.
Yeah, well, I've just been informed Joe Cooper has had a fall in the peloton. He's got up, he's okay. There's been a few other riders impeded in that fall, but Joseph Cooper for the Bennelong Swiss Wellness team, well, they were impressive yesterday. They had 4 riders in the front. But to give you a recap of who's in this breakaway, after 30 kilometres, they finally stretched out. And for the Ballarat locals, they're excited, Dave McKenzie, because both Nicholas and Liam White are in this breakaway. Brothers, but riding for different teams. Nicholas rides for the Oliver's Real Foods team. He's about 4th wheel in the group now, in the middle of that group. Liam White for the Drapac Education First. Joel Strachan's there for McDonald's team down under. Liam McGuinness, he's back again for another go for the Drapac Education First. He was in the breakaway all day yesterday. Ken Levi Eklund, the 22-year-old from Norway, he's there for Interpro Stradale. Alistair Donoghue, the Paralympian and Para-World Champion for Mobius Bridge Lane, is there. And the Dutchie, Etienne van Empel, 23 years old from Roomput, the Roomput team, he is there as well. To recap some of the competitions today, because we had the sprint and King of the Mountains. So the Gatorade sprint competition, it was Liam McGuinness that took the first sprint with Liam White, his teammate, and still unconfirmed third place there in Cobden. That was after about 50 kilometres. Just down the road from that, in Camperdown, they had the second intermediate sprint. It was the Norwegian in the breakaway, Ken Levi Eklund. He took the maximum points with McGuinness in second and White in third. That was enough for Liam McGuinness to take over the lead. However, it's very possible that the winner of today's stage regains that jersey, potentially Steele Von Hoff. And if Steele Von Hoff was to win here today, he would probably go into the yellow jersey as well. So there's so many of these categories, they're still so close. In the Iceaway Sports King of the Mountains competition, we've had the Cat 4 climb today, but we haven't had the final Cat 3 climb. So the Cat 3 climb will be Mount Buninyong. But at the Cat 4 climb at Camperdown, it was again Etienne van Empel. He took the maximum points. Ken Levi Eklund, he was the Norwegian, was in second, and local rider from Ballarat, Liam White, in third. So out of the riders in the breakaway, it's basically been Joel Strachan and Nick White and Alistair Donoghue that are really saving their energy, maybe for one last ditch late on Mount Mercer Buninyong Road, as we see Eklund taking on some gels and fuel for the remainder of this stage. It really starts to get tough here. This is where we drove in and we reconned the final 60 kilometres on our way in from Warrnambool, didn't we?
Yeah, we certainly did. And so Eklund there, the Norwegian, he's only a slight build. Generally, we're used to seeing the Norwegians are big men. They've got a few big riders, but well, another man from that part of the world, Lasse Norman Hansen, the former Olympic champion on the track in the Omnium. He did a brilliant ride yesterday. I mean, that was a serious road stage yesterday. It's a serious tour this year. Not that it's never been a serious tour, but it's gone back almost a decade in terms of distances, climbs. Obviously, tomorrow is a big stage from Mitchelton to the top of Lake Mountain, and the longest stage for many, many years, 220 kilometres. Today, there was some roadworks about the midway part of the course, a 7-kilometre section. The organisers didn't have a choice in the matter. It was a last-minute thing that was out of their control. So it was through no fault of the organisers, and the race director, John Trevorrow, said through fairness and safety for the riders, they neutralised the breakaway and neutralised the peloton across that dirt section. But what it's done, it's added more kilometres. So now we're looking at around 210 kilometre stage. So it's a tough tour this year. And with the wins yesterday, we saw that crash and some of the social media posts. Trek Segafredo, Laurent Didier, his bike completely snapped in half. And, gee, when you see images like that, he's okay, we think, but he may have a broken wrist and he's had to withdraw from the race. So we hope he heals okay and he's all right to get his European season back on track. But it's had a bit of everything so far, hasn't it?
Well, with that neutralised section, it was only 100 kilometres into the stage. It didn't change the result. So neutralising that didn't change the result. The riders stopped at the end of the section, and the breakaway was given their 3 minutes 20 that they had at the beginning of that session.
So from the race organisers and John Trevorrow to neutralise it.
I have to agree. Some of the teams were prepared for it to be raced. Bennelong Swiss Wellness, they had neutral spare from their team. They had members from their staff with wheels on the sideline just in case, and that was really smart.
Yeah, but I think we both agree. If it was in the race mocker, the course mocker, before the prologue, before the race had even begun, and everyone knew that there was a dirt section, it's game on. It's part of the original plan of the race, but it wasn't. It was a last-minute addition that they had to put in. And again, to stress, it was through no fault of the organisers. It was something that came up at the last minute, and those people have taken responsibility. So they made the right decision.
No, they certainly have made the right decision. There's no doubt about that. But you can't undermine the fact that a team like Bennelong was prepared all ready regardless. So if they didn't neutralise it, they were ready.
Yeah.
Okay, got neutralised. They didn't need the wheels. And there only ended up being one mechanical, no punches on the section.
I would have loved to see them race across it.
Same here, because we're in the cars and we're watching on the live stream. Thanks for joining us once again on this, the Jayco Herald Sun Tour live stream, as we see this group starting to sort of lose its cooperation, and that's because they're getting noise in their ears from their team managers. The gap is falling, and it's falling very similar to what happened yesterday. Just 7 kilometres ago, the gap was 3 minutes and 20 seconds. Well, it's now 1 minute and 28 seconds, and it's coming down. We've got word over our microphones that Trek Segafredo is again on the front and making a difference. Now, they tried to split the race twice yesterday. They were successful on their second attempt, but early on in yesterday's stage, they also had a go. It didn't happen. They're here to try and make time up on riders like Esteban Chavez and pure climbers, even Cam Meyer. They'd like a head start, but they also see today as a great opportunity. I spoke to Kundecourt on the start line. He thinks that both himself and Mads Peterson have a very good chance coming here to Buninyong. And also speaking to the internationals today, Dave McKenzie, I don't know how you found it, but the internationals in the field are very excited to be able to race around the national championship circuit that they would never get to ride around because obviously they're not Australian.
It's great, isn't it? And it just shows that this course has been recognised now around the world from the riders, and some of them when they're out here preparing for the month of January, the racing, the Europeans. And obviously they can't ride the national championships. It's closed off to Australian riders only. But they get to watch the live coverage. And, you know, the crowds that we get here at Buninyong is sensational. This is a great course today, and it's a great finale. And I think we both can't wait, can we, for these last 20, 30-odd kilometres just to see the way they're going to race in.
Well, you and I, we drove it obviously, but I've ridden the roads plenty, particularly the Mount Mercer Buninyong Road. It's a road that initially they'll be flying along, and then they've got to do the Garibaldi ascent. As we see these cars moving out from behind these riders, that's alarm bells going. That means that the gap to this breakaway is under a minute, and this becomes quite a significant development in the race, because if this peloton gets on and it's split again, Dave McKenzie, there's 45 kilometres of racing remaining in the stage. If you're not in that echelon, it could be two or over today. We saw it yesterday in major splits, and we said straight away it could happen again today.
Yeah, well, as they come in to Buninyong, they come in from the opposite way that the finish line is run, the way the national championship course is run. So they'll make a right-hand turn onto the Mount Buninyong climb. So as you say, if there are some gaps and it's splintered, you only need a 20 to 30 second gap, and then you hit a 4 kilometre climb. At the end of 200 kilometres, they hit the start of the circuit and they hit that climb as they've completed 200 kilometres. So it changes everything, that final 10 kilometres. It really does make it tough.
I think we're going to cross across to Matt Keenan. He's in one of the vehicles following the race in the broadcast vehicle. Matt Keenan, can you hear us?
I've got you loud and clear. I'm in a car directly behind the breakaway group of 7 who have been working really well all day long. At this point, as we're heading towards Mount Mercer and then into Buninyong, they've got a slight tailwind.
How did you find the neutralised section on the dirt? Was it a rough section?
It looked quite good as we got onto it, and it wasn't until you saw a few riders actually veer off to the left-hand side of the road where it looked perfectly smooth, but it was really sandy. And the Dutch rider here in the breakaway, Van Empel, if anybody can handle those sorts of conditions, it's the Dutchman. And his bike just went completely sideways on him. So initially I thought it was a really cautious decision, but you're better off making the wrong decision that's too cautious than one that is too ambitious. And ultimately I don't think it's going to have any impact on the outcome of the race, not being raced across that gravel section. But it was worth noting how well prepared the Bennelong Swiss Wellness team was, because they had a soignier on the side of the road at the midway point with spare wheels, just as you see at Paris-Roubaix or stages of the Tour de France that go across cobbled sectors, ready for the inevitable puncture that somebody would have experienced if they did race across there.
Yeah, Matt, what can you tell us about the first 30, 40 kilometres of the race? Because we heard the yellow jersey was caught up in a crash, and there were a few other riders crashing. So what happened there? And did all those riders rejoin the peloton?
They all have rejoined. In fact, the crash with the yellow jersey Hansen, he did go down, but it happened so quickly in terms of his ability to get back on the bike and into the peloton that we never actually saw him. We were at the back of the convoy at that point, which is around about 25 cars long, and he was back on his bike and going again before he got to the end of the convoy. And then I saw him around about 10 kilometres after that. He stopped on the side of the road for a nature break. The Kiwi Shane Archbold was with him, and you couldn't see any signs of the damage from that crash. We've had another crash more recently, in fact, just around about 10 kilometres ago. Joe Cooper was involved in the fall, so too Ed Bradbury from JLT Condor and Lionel Morter from the Quartermenta real estate team, and all three are back in the main field.
Yes, thanks, Matt Keenan. Well, how about we throw a little harsh ball at Matt Keenan? Who's your prediction to win today's stage, Matt?
It's a sentimental pick, but after his third place finish at the National Championships, I'd love to see him put in a big ride and get the win today. Realistically, though, it's going to be really tough for Chris Harper to get the victory, but he's the one that I pick with my heart. I'm not sure if I pick him with my head, but you've got to not sit on the fence. We'll go with one, and I'll stick my neck out on Chris Harper.
Matt, I like that. What about Steele von Hoff? He's a favourite of mine the last couple of weeks, in fact. He's had great form, hasn't he? And we've seen him get around this national championship course before in the titles. What do you think of his chances?
I don't think he'll get over the climb with the group today, Macca. As I heard you talking before, it's 200 kilometres in the legs by the time they hit the base of the climb. He was really good yesterday. He was dropped on the climb on Sunday at the Cadell Evans Great Ocean Road Race. Sure, he fought his way back, but I think we'll see more action up Mount Buninyong today, and we'll see guys like Damien Housen. We'll see Chavez at the front. Cameron Meyer will be in there amongst it. I just don't think Steele's going to get over the top with them.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Yeah, that's great. And that's what we love about Matt Keenan. He's got such great analytical ability about these bike races. Well, Matt, thanks for your time, and we'll catch you back here at the finish line to see what will be an exceptional stage finish.
See you soon.
Well, it's fantastic to get Matt on the line, and particularly because he's right behind this breakaway and give us those informations. But quite interesting. Chris Harper is picked for today.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I think he's an emerging talent, Chris Harper, isn't he? And I think he would have suddenly got some confidence and some belief in himself after the national championships here. And I mean, he came down with Alexander Edmondson right down to the pointy end of the race, the final lap. And at one point, you know, anyone could have picked Chris Harper to win that race as well. So, no, he's in the field, and he'll have some confidence when he comes into Buninyong as well. But this breakaway, I mean, they're still working together, Pat. They're rotating turns. They're not done just yet, are they?
Well, there's no point in sitting up because they've done all the hard work. But there's other awards to be won today, like the Sprint Championship and it looks like a bit of cramping there.
Oh, I think it is.
The Sprint Championship and the King of the Mountain Championship. Well, they're two categories available.
Yeah.
Yes, the young rider. That's the Norwegian Keaton Levi. He's in big trouble.
He is stretching the legs out, isn't he? I think we've all been there before, haven't we? It's not a nice feeling, and you can just see he's just trying to hang on the back, but he's actually in a lot of bother.
And this is 45 kilometres to go. This is not a good situation for him, because to survive today's stage and then tomorrow 220 kilometres, that's a big one. Neutral service going up to try and help him out. Do you need anything? Some fluid, some hydration, get some magnesium back in the body. I was going to mention at the top, Ryan Thomas and Shane Archibald, as they left this morning, we wish them a happy birthday.
Yes.
The Flying Mullet from New Zealand, he was abusing us. We called him late in his 20s, maybe early 30s, and he goes, more like 22. But, yes. Well, thanks for joining us for the initial part of this broadcast.
Thank you, Pat. I'd love to stick around, and thank you to the viewers who have been tuning in. Keep tuning in. Pat will take you all the way to the finish line. I'll now join the live crowd that we have here in Buninyong. Enjoy the call, and I'm not going to try and pick a winner. I think I'll wait until the final lap here and then think about it. So enjoy the call, Pat, and we'll see the viewers a bit later on in the week.
Thanks again, Dave Mack. Similar to what he has the last 2 days. It's been fantastic to have Bridie O'Donnell, Kimberly Wells was going to join as well for some period of time, but those commentators, it's great to have their company. But, ladies and gentlemen, you're now joined exclusive, just myself now, all the way to the finish, and now they're going to head towards Buninyong and, well, this iconic course in Buninyong, and they will do a slight variation of this year's course. They don't go through the university as they did in the national championships, but this group, as Dave McKenzie had said, continues to work, and will continue to bring you updates on their time gap. But just a moment ago, it was 1:28 back to the peloton. The local boys, Liam White and Nick White, it's fantastic to see them in there. Well, you see it so much in the Tour de France when the riders go and visit their local towns. They get in the breakaway of the day. Well, the peloton will let them off the front just to salute their families as they go through their hometowns. Well, today, Liam and Nick White, well, they're going to Ballarat, their hometown, and they've really made sure they're in this breakaway. Just 30 kilometres into the stage today, the break finally formed. Yesterday was a lot easier for the breakaway to form. They almost went from kilometre zero. And well, to recap yesterday's stage, it was Lasse Norman Hansen from Aqua Blue Sport. He took out the stage in emphatic style. The sprint was timed to perfection in the uphill tailwind sprint finish in Mary Street, Warrnambool. Steele von Hoff was coming home very quickly, but just missed out, so he finished in second. And Cam Meyer with a surprisingly strong sprint. And he does have the capability to produce a sprint. Maybe from the track background, it just allows him to have that good turn of foot. He was in third place. Kundecourt was so close to getting a podium, and he'll look to probably get back on the podium today. Is Kundecourt is very motivated, and we know that Trek Segafredo is putting a lot of pain on the peloton. They split the race yesterday, but it was Lasse Norman Hansen who took the stage out, and obviously took with that the leader's jersey of the race. He's a good chance again today, even though it's a hillier finish. Well, after talking to Matt Keenan, he's pretty much confirmed what we believed as well. It will be an aggressive ascent of Mount Buninyong when they come here in about 25 minutes, 30 minutes time. But again, it is the Norwegian. He's really in trouble, the 22-year-old Norwegian from Interpro Stradale. That's Ken Levi Eklund. Well, he's been active in the sprints and also in the King of the Mountain competitions today, but struggling now. And it is a long day, 208 kilometres. And tomorrow, the riders will also tackle a long stage, 220 kilometres almost from Mitchelton Winery in Nagambie. And they'll travel all the way across the very rugged and tough terrain for the final ascent of the day. A mountaintop finish up Lake Mountain. It'll be right up Esteban Chavez's alley. He'll be really looking forward to that opportunity. Or does he do what he did last year and he helps his teammates? Joel Strachan also there from Team McDonald's, team Down Under. As I said earlier, headwind for most of the day today, unlike yesterday where the riders had the breeze behind them. And although it's the most feared wind, a tail crosswind, you do pass the kilometres a lot quicker. So the riders completed the 161 kilometre stage yesterday in 3 hours and 37 minutes. It was a really fast stage. Unfortunately for the riders today, for one of the longer stages, it's a headwind, and therefore it's not only longer in distance, it's a lot longer in time on the bike. Really got to give a special mention to Liam McGuinness from the Drapac Education First team. He was in the breakaway yesterday, 160 kilometres in the breakaway, and he has gone out there to go into the breakaway yet again today. As they take the right-hand turn here, that's on the Mount Mercer to Real Road. They'll travel on Mount Mercer to Real Road for around about 14 kilometres, just 9 kilometres, and then they'll take a left-hand turn into Mount Mercer Buninyong Road, and that road will be for that's about 30 kilometres to go actually when they turn onto the course, to the individual time trial course, should I say, for the national championships. So some of the riders in the peloton, particularly Michael Hepburn, he springs to mind. Damien Howson also springs to mind. They'll know that road very well because they've ridden the individual time trial on that course many times before. What I can tell you is along the Mount Mercer to Real Road, there's the widening of the course, but then it narrows up That's not going to be an issue for the breakaway because there's only 7 riders. But for the peloton, it certainly will be difficult because there's crosswind there with the wind coming from the southeast today. And so there'll be no room for the whole peloton. Could be an opportunity for Trek Segafredo to have a second attempt at splitting the race. Yesterday, on their first attempt, they didn't split the race about 90 kilometres from the finish. But the second time they attempted, they certainly did. And that was what ended up being the winning move for the day. Well, to update you again, Liam McGuinness, he actually is in the lead of the sprint competition now on 12 points. Equal on 10 points is Steele von Hoff. Yesterday's stage winner also on 10 points is Lasse Norman Hansen. And also in the breakaway yesterday, there was another rider that picked up the full 10 points on the road. So we've got 3 riders on 10 points and 1 rider right at the top, Liam McGuinness. He has 12 points, so he's leading that Gatorade sprint jersey. In the King of the Mountains jersey, it's tied points for yesterday's leader, Brad Evans from Mobius. I'm struggling. Bridge Lane. That's hard with all these teams changing that. So Mobius Bridge Lane rider Brad Evans, he leads that competition. But today with Etienne Van Empel from the Roompot team, he also is equal on points. But up here just to my left is Mount Buninyong, and on the ascent of Mount Buninyong today, it's a Cat 3, the first Cat 3 climb of the tour. There's 12, 8 and 4 points on offer, so it is feasible that the winner of the ascent up Mount Buninyong today will put the King of the Mountains jersey on. Just as it's very feasible that a rider with points like Steele von Hoff or Lasse Norman Hansen, who had a great result yesterday, could again have a great result here in Buninyong today, and they would take the 10, 6 and 4 points on offer for first, second and third, and that would allow them to take over the lead in that sprint classification. We haven't got pictures at the moment. We apologise for that, but it's all about whether we've got coverage on the road. We'll bring back pictures as soon as we can. We keep the information coming as the break is now 1 minute and 10 seconds. Well, it's been great to be able to bring you live coverage for this Jayco Herald Sun Tour. And, well, Stage 2, I think Stage 3 tomorrow up the top of Lake Mountain is going to be a beauty as well. The riders that have been chosen for today's stage as favourites, well, I think Steele von Hoff. I know Matt Keenan disagrees and doesn't think he can survive the climb, but I just think the 200 kilometres in the legs, I think that everyone will be a bit tired coming into the circuit. It's a headwind ascent, and it'll be the riders that know this course the best that will survive. Steele von Hoff comes to mind. Cameron Bailey is another rider that comes to mind. Chris Harper was one that Matt Keenan picked. I'd love to see him win. He rode a brilliant national championships, which was eventually taken out by Alex Edmondson. But I just don't think today's the day for him. I think he'll still try and keep his energy for tomorrow. 220 kilometre stage finishing up Lake Mountain, which really suits Harper's style of riding. And I think that's how he'll work it out. But in this breakaway of 7 riders, 1 minute 10 up the road, it's going to be very difficult for race director John Trevorrow to pick a winner in the most aggressive rider. But as the peloton closes in, we might start to see some attacks. As the wind down here on the ground in Buninyong has really gotten a lot stronger. We're waiting to hear clarification. Pictures should be back shortly. We apologise again, but it's the first time we've brought live stream of the Herald Sun Tour, and it's a great pleasure to do so. This stage today, 208 kilometres. Dave McKenzie was on the show at the start. He was talking about the crash that involved the yellow jersey, Lasse Norman Hansen. He and 5 other riders crashed 15 kilometres into the stage. And, well, there was a little bit of alarm bells going off. People were worried, but he got straight back up, back to the peloton. So you're joining us now. We've got some pictures coming back. And this is Stage 2, Surfside Holiday Park, Warrnambool. Stage 2 of this, the 2018 Jayco Herald Sun Tour, showing you some images from earlier in the week. Some of the highlights of yesterday's stage. That's Liam McGuinness on the front there yesterday. And, well, they did a tremendous job, the breakaway yesterday, to stay away until 20 kilometres to go. We're watching the intermediate sprints take place here. And then the beautiful Great Ocean Road. It was a beautiful day for the pictures, not only for the stream, but also the photos from the race photographers. And then echelons. This is footage the purists would love to see all the way in the gutter Ed Clancy, who found himself in the front of the first split, but then the second split of that front group, he couldn't keep up. It was his teammates that tried to get him back to the front, but unfortunately he couldn't make it back, so he lost a minute 20 yesterday. He was realistic about his chances, though, as we start to see live pictures once again. Liam White on the front of the group, the local Ballarat boy, his brother Nick, and then this young rider. He's only 23 years old, Etienne Van Empel from Roompot, but he's very strong and he looks like he's on a good one today. Rider that's not on a good one today and is no longer in this group, as this group has shrunk to 6, is the Norwegian from Interpro Stradale, Ken Levi Eikeland, the 22-year-old from Norway. And this is the part of the road I was talking about earlier. It really narrows up. There's not enough room here for the 100 riders that remain in the peloton. And when they come here, I think this is where some action's really going to transpire, as we're 1 minute 45 is now the gap. So they're sort of hovering there. The peloton doesn't want to bring him back too early. Matt Keenan joins us again. Matt, what can you tell us about this race now?
Well, Pat, we've just had an update from Race Radio. The peloton, they are sensing the anticipation with this narrow road. They have upped the speed significantly, and the gap is down to 1 minute and 15 seconds. So the pace is really starting to heat up. They're around about 35 kilometres or so to go. And I did just hear you talking about Eikeling from the Intrapol Stradale team that was in the breakaway. He stopped on the side of the road with cramp and what looked like an upset stomach, and he will be lucky to survive for very long back in that main peloton.
Thanks for that, Matt. Yeah, it's been a long time since I've seen a rider cramp like he was. He was really in some trouble. Now, is it windy where you are? Because the wind has really gotten up here in Buninyong. It is blowing a gale now.
That's amazing that it is, because here it is almost perfectly still. We are in amongst the trees, but even looking at the top of the trees, the leaves are hardly moving at all. So it's incredible that it can be so different here by comparison to where you are.
Not long now, maybe in about 4 kilometres, 5 kilometres time, the riders will turn left onto the iconic individual time trial national championship course, which you know very well. And I think that might be a bit more of an issue for the wind because it's so open. I can see the pictures of where you are now, and although the roads are narrow, there is good coverage of the trees.
Yeah, there's really good coverage here, and as you mentioned before, once they get on to that portion of the course that's used for the time trial, the national championships, heading back into Buninyong, it's predominantly uphill also. There's a few rollers, there's a little bit of respite on that road heading to Buninyong, but there's more uphill than what there is downhill, and that is really going to hurt the legs of anybody who's even just a little bit vulnerable.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's a very impressive ride by the Drapac Education First, Liam McGuinness today also. He was in the breakaway all day yesterday as we just see his team car coming up. It's an impressive effort, particularly with a 220-kilometre stage ahead of him tomorrow.
Yeah, and at 20 years of age, to go back-to-back in the breakaway. As I heard you mention earlier on, Liam has now won enough points to move into the lead in the race for the Gatorade green jersey, but the destiny of that jersey now is out of Liam's hands. It will come down to what happens back in that main peloton. If you're right and I'm wrong about the legs of Steele Von Hoff, it should end up with him. But if it's won the stage today by somebody that hasn't collected points over the last couple of days, could be a green jersey for Liam McGuinness, and that's a great outcome.
Yeah, that'd be a great reward, wouldn't it? And a just-deserved reward. Another rider that's really done well on this circuit before and will like his chances is Cameron Meyer. He raced really well yesterday and snuck into that top 3 position to pick up the bonus seconds on the line. So he might be an opportunity today, as we can still hear the children down here, the school kids are down here on the finish line.
He's a big chance, Cameron Meyer. He's a really big chance. The course, as you mentioned, it does suit him. His brother has actually won the national championships on this course in the past, so really looking forward to seeing how he goes.
Yeah, well, Matt Keenan, we've lost pictures for the time being here down on the ground, but we will endeavour to bring you back streaming pictures of the course as soon as we can. It's a work in progress as we get pictures now. And Joel Strachan from the McDonald's team down under on the back of the group. They've worked really well, this group, particularly in the headwind all day today and tough conditions. We thank Matt Keenan for dialing in. It's very good to get those special comments, particularly from Matt Keenan. Well, he's the new voice of cycling. There's no doubt about that. And you can catch his presentation at 4:30 p.m. on SBS each night. His recap of the stage with Phil Liggett. Well, it's fantastic to see these young riders, particularly domestic riders, Nicholas White, the local boy from Ballarat, and Liam White, his brother, and Liam McGuinness out there as well. And, well, the young rider there from Mobius Bridge Lane, Alistair Donoghue, I don't know if he would have expected to be in this breakaway today. I don't know if that was the team plan. But if they do survive to Buninyong, he will be very difficult to chase back. He's a very versatile bike rider. He's got a fast sprint on him, but he's also got the ability to climb, a really good ability to climb these climbs here. He's done well in Buninyong before in the under 23 race. And, well, we keep getting pictures. Look at these riders with haste. They want to get rid of that the gels. That was good by Liam McGuinness there, getting rid of his rubbish to the team car. But now they open up on this wider part of the Daryl Mount Mercer Road. Just over the next rise, they'll take the left-hand turn and they'll head back to Buninyong on the Mount Mercer Buninyong Road. Initially, it's got a little bit of a false flat uphill, and then it's a very fast downhill run to the base of the south side of Garibaldi. That ascent is not an easy climb. After the climb of Garibaldi, they'll have a super fast descent again, and as Matt Keenan was touching on earlier, then they just continue to gain elevation slowly but surely all the way back with undulating terrain to Buninyong, and then they hit this iconic national championship circuit. 9.7 kilometres is the distance they will have when they turn right here in Buninyong to initiate that course. And, well, this breakaway, I feel for them. They're going to have very tired legs when they hit that King of the Mountain on Mount Buninyong, but their desire will be to survive, pick up some more King of the Mountains points. Etienne Van Empel, the 23-year-old from Rompot, if he could pick up even 1 point, well, even though there's not one, but he would pick up 30, he could pick up 4 points, he would definitely be in that King of the Mountains jersey at the end of the day. But from the word that Nat Keenan was saying, that peloton is very, very motivated. 1 minute and 6 seconds is the gap back to the peloton. So that's almost perfect to make the catch at about 15 to 20 kilometres from the finish. When they turn left to commence the run into Buninyong, there'll be 29.3 kilometres remaining in today's stage. So about 33 kilometres to go in today's stage. And, well, they've been out there now. Well, it's nearly 5 hours of riding. Quite incredible day on the bikes. They started this morning at just before 10. So been on the bikes for 4 hours and 50 minutes, and they've still got 35 kilometres of racing to complete. But this group in front, they're really still working well. There was a group of 7 of them earlier, but it's Ken Levi Eichland, the 22-year-old Norwegian from Interpro Stradale. He couldn't keep up any longer. His legs gave up. He was cramping, and Matt Keenan reported he pulled over the side of the road. He has a sore stomach as well. Maybe a bit of the local food hasn't agreed with him at the buffet table last night. So it would be unlikely that we see, unfortunately for the Norwegian, it would be unlikely that we see him finish today's stage. 22 years old, great for him to come out here and experience the Herald Sun Tour. There was a great crowd that welcomed the riders this morning at Zion and then cheered them off as they left. We had students from the Port Fairy Primary School. They came all the way across to salute the riders as they left on this 208 kilometre journey to Ballarat. Here's the left-hand turn. This is the Buninyong Mount Mercer Road. 29.5 kilometres to go for this breakaway. 1 minute and 6 seconds is the time gap back to the peloton. The peloton is being controlled by Trek Segafredo and Mitchelton Scott. And, well, even though Aqua Blue Sport has the leader's jersey, they haven't had to do a lot of work on the front today. Almost immediately after the breakaway took off this morning, Mitchelton Scott, they sent a rider straight to the front of the peloton to control things. The time gap at its biggest point today for the breakaway was 3 minutes and 40 seconds. And now it is at just 1 minute and 6 seconds. back to the peloton. Pictures breaking up a little bit. It's a bit difficult in this area to keep the coverage, so we'll keep bringing it back to you as they come into Buninyong. The closer they get to Buninyong, the better the coverage will be. We apologise for the dropout, but as we said, it's trying new things here with the Herald Sun Tour, and bringing you these live pictures the last few days has been an absolute pleasure. And thank you for joining us these last days as well. I know there's people joining us from all over the world, and it's impressive to see the international guests in particular tuning in, but keep giving us a like below. We like to see that you're interested in the content that we're bringing forward. And, well, tomorrow's stage up Lake Mountain really stands to be the decider of who will take out the 2018 edition of the Jayco Herald Sun Tour. As pictures come back now, Dave McKenzie informing the people on the ground here in Buninyong that their local boys, Nicholas White and Liam White, they're trying their best to get into Buninyong in the front of the race. So many Ballarat people here on the ground waiting to welcome them into Buninyong. And I reckon once they hear the voices of all the locals here, it will push them to that next level. It's always a great environment here for the National Championships. It almost feels like we haven't left. Just a few weeks ago, we saw Alex Edmondson in the men's race, Sprint to Glory, and local, well, also local from where we left today in the area down there, Shannon Melseed. What an incredible ride it was for her to take out the big crash that broke Lauren Didier's bike yesterday. And, well, as you can see, the race was already split. He's tapped the wheel, broke his bike in half. And this is where it really all got put away. They tried their best to get this group back in the front. Steele Von Hoff, he looked primed for victory. Damien Howson, 800 metres to go, made the big move. He pushed hard to the line. He looked like it was all his. It looked like game over. But the Danish rider from Aqua Blue, he had different things in mind. He took the win. A great sprint by Cam Meyer to run third, Steele Von Hoff in second, and Koen de Kort in fourth.
Thank you,
Larry Warbass there saying how happy he was for his teammate.
Yeah, it was a really good race today. There was a lot of crosswind and got split at about 30k to go and ended up in a 10-man bunch sprint. So, yeah, really, really happy to take the win against names like Steele Von Hoff and all the other fast guys.
Steele Von Hoff was definitely one of the fast guys there. Hearing from Lasse Norman Hansen there, the winner of yesterday's stage, and in the peloton now after a fall after just 15 kilometres this morning. He remains in the yellow jersey today. We'll see if he can hold it through till the end of this stage. We apologise for the picture breakup. We're doing everything we can as we see the commissaire's car going up to inform the riders of that time gap, which continues to shrink. Now just a minute right on a minute. This is where things get a little bit difficult for the riders in the breakaway. They need to try and think how far they've got to the finish. When are we going to get caught by the peloton? What will we do if we get caught? How do we survive? We see yesterday the breakaway got caught almost at a perfect time. 20 kilometres to go. Most of the damage had already been done. And so there was only one rider that got split off from the front group into the finish yesterday. And the rest of the breakaway companions, they made it to the finish within 24 seconds of the winner. Live pictures here streaming from the 2018 Jayco Herald Sun Tour. This is the Surfside Holiday Parks Warrnambool Stage 2, 208 kilometres from Warrnambool to Ballarat. And, well, there was a lot of attacks early, but it was these 6 riders and a Norwegian, 22-year-old Norwegian from Interpro Stradale that pushed the hardest after 30 kilometres and got themselves off the front of the peloton. And, well, now they're just 25 kilometres from meeting us back here in Buninyong, the iconic town of Buninyong, just 10 kilometres out of Ballarat. As we look at the finish line now, great pictures. The school kids have turned up. Most people are sitting in the shade at the moment, waiting for the riders to arrive. It's really a special race today to come here to Ballarat and then for a final finishing circuit, do a lap of the National Championship circuit. Well, it's how you really test the riders. And, well, I think it's going to split before it gets here into Buninyong. But Steele Von Hoff proved yesterday in crosswinds he was strong. In the time trial, he was strong. And, well, in the sprint yesterday, he was strong. Not strong enough to beat the Danish Lasse Norman Hansen from Blue Sport, but strong enough to get very, very close. I would expect him to be close again here today and make up for a below-par performance for him in January on this road circuit. He went to the Tour Down Under. He finished 6th in the final stage, and that's where it all kicked off for Steele Von Hoff after finishing on the podium in the Criterium at the National Championships. He then went to Cadel Evans Road Race last weekend, and he had a very strong finish in 6th position there as well, taken out by Jay McCarthy. But it was a great sprint finish by Steele, and it proved that he can ride on these more difficult terrain. I spoke to him this morning and asked him what he thought was the ingredients, because when I saw him on January 1st, he said, I don't really know how the legs are feeling. I'm a bit unsure about how the form is. And, well, after that, he said, I think it's the environment I am in. I'm very happy where I am. I'm happy to be back racing with my mates, particularly Anthony Giacopo and Joe Kuba. And it's things like that that really spur him on. To recap who's in the breakaway, if you're just joining us, Nicholas White and Liam White from Ballarat, they're in the breakaway. Joel Strachan from the McDonald's team down under, he's also present in the breakaway. Yesterday's breakaway rider, Liam McGuinness from Drapac Education First. Well, yesterday's 160 kilometres of gruelling pain wasn't enough for him, so he's got himself back in the move again today. Alistair Donoghue, the Paralympian from Mobius Bridge Lane, he's made himself into that front breakaway as well. And Etienne Van Empel, he looks brilliant today from the Rompot team, the 23-year-old Dutchman. He looks very, very good, and I wouldn't be surprised for him to try and maybe make a solo breakaway from his breakaway companions. Remembering that in cycling, generally speaking, from the early breakaway, the rider that is pulled back last for the peloton is usually the rider that is awarded the most aggressive jersey for the day. He took the major points in Camperdown on the Category 4 King of the Mountain, and so he will be also targeting that competition, it seems, later in the week as well. There's a Cat 3 climb here at the top of Mount Buninyong, as we see the school kids coming down through the finish line here in Buninyong. 4 hours and 50 minutes of racing for the riders already today. It's a 208 kilometre stage. Apologise again for the picture breakup. For this, the second stage, the Surfside Holiday Parks Warrnambool, Stage 2 of the 2018 Jayco Herald Sun Tour. It's actually, this morning we left, it was cold in Warrnambool. It's around 13 degrees, overcast. But after just 1 hour of racing, we saw the clouds part. The sun pierced through, and ever since then it's been quite warm conditions, and we saw that from Ken Levi Eichlin. He was in the early breakaway, but unfortunately he's had to stop due to cramping and having a crook stomach. As we see the kids continue to come down. How good is the turnout for these young kids to come and see their heroes? Could be the future hero of cycling for Australia here today with their primary school. The sprint competition today, Liam McGuinness took out the first sprint, and Ken Levi Eichlin, the rider we just spoke about from Interpro Stradale, he took out the second sprint at Camperdown. But he's paying the price for his extra efforts, as we now see the breakaway is closing in within a minute of the lead. So that peloton, it's not mucking around now. When they come into Buninyong, this course will be 9.7 kilometres in distance. And we're waving to the kids as they come past. It's great to be here right on the ground. So when they come back into Buninyong, 9.7 kilometres is the distance. Many of you will already know the course. You've probably been here in January and watched the National Road Championships take place. At the moment, they're on the individual time trial circuit, and we're doing everything we can to get pictures back of the breakaway as the peloton really closes in on the break. Under a minute now is what I'm being told. It's 58 seconds and the gap is closing down, but all the real racing is going to happen in the final 10 kilometres when they come from Mount Mercer into Buninyong They'll take the right-hand turn at the roundabout at the base of the King of the Mountain, for those of you that have been on the ground before. And as we can see, this front group, it's splitting up every time. We now see Alistair Donoghue really applying the pressure here on the rest of the riders. Nicholas White and also Liam White, they continue to push hard to stay in this front group. And the rider from Rompot from the Netherlands, Etienne van Empel, right now they're crossing halfway up the climb, the Garibaldi ascent from the south side. This is difficult times now, and you can see the breakaway. It's now decided. We've got to go for it, guys. If we don't go now, we're going to get caught in a bad spot. And they now have just 24 kilometres remaining in the race, these riders. Well, going to be interesting to see whether Nick White and Liam White can make it into Buninyong. It'd be fantastic for them to see their local supporters, see them come into Buninyong and turn right at the roundabout, head up the King of the Mountain. I think we've got Matt Keenan. Matt Keenan's back on. We've lost pictures there for a moment, Matt, but what can you tell us has happened in this breakaway?
Have you got the pictures back yet?
Yes, we have.
The last that I heard is we've gone ahead of the breakaway now because the gap is coming down so much. Last I heard was just moments ago that Liam McGuinness and Joel Strachan were being dropped. Is that what you're seeing?
Yes, well, we've got a group of 4 in the front now, so they must be feeling it. We saw young Ken Levi Eikeland, the 22-year-old Norwegian for Interpro Stradale, cramping severely back on Mount Mercer at Durrell Road. Maybe those 2 riders are paying the penalty as well. You know that Liam McGuinness spent 150 kilometres in the breakaway yesterday, and it's not easy. This is a very elite field.
And this road along Mount Mercer and heading back into Buninyong is a lot harder than it looks on camera. And I've ridden it at a casual pace, having driven it today and seeing what the peloton has been through to get to this point. This is really going to hurt the legs before they make the right-hand turn at Buninyong onto the Midland Highway, and then they start that climb. Today is super tough. Add to the fact they've had that deviation, which has extended the stage by 10 kilometres. Sure, it was neutralised across the gravel, but that will have stung the legs also. This is a brutal stage.
Do you think the stage has been tough enough to maybe put the pure climbers, say like Esteban Chavez, in a bit of trouble, and maybe he won't have the legs on Mount Buninyong to really make a difference today?
Yeah, he'll be fine. He won't have any problems with Mount Buninyong, but I don't think he'll have the legs to really make a big difference. But it's going to be a really select group up Mount Buninyong today. What we will know by the end of today's stage is which rider from a group of perhaps 10 or so, maybe even less, are genuine contenders to win this race overall.
Yeah, well, it was an elite group of riders that made that front selection yesterday, and Laz Norman Hansen was nothing but complimentary to Kunda Court, who initiated the split yesterday, and they said to each other it was nothing to do with luck. We were just the best riders on the day, and they were, but now they need to produce that for another 3 days to really benefit from their efforts yesterday. Well, how much longer do you think this breakaway can survive? Can it get into Buninyong?
Or if it makes it into Buninyong, it will be by the skin of its teeth. The peloton has just backed off momentarily, and then as they sense they're getting closer to Buninyong, they're no longer going to be chasing that breakaway group, but they'll up the tempo as they're laying down their own plans to attack the climb itself. As for the yellow jersey, I don't think there's any chance of Hansen defending his yellow jersey today. It's Mitchelton Scott, Trek Segafredo. They're doing most work back in the peloton. Aqua Blue have been leading the race for a long time, but they're surely no longer chasing in the hopes that Hansen's going to hold on to the yellow. They can at least play the card of, come on, this guy's a track cyclist. He's more of a sprinter. You do the work. See if you can take the yellow jersey off him.
Yes, and that seems like what's happened because Trek Segafredo has done a lot of work, and so has Mitchelton Scott. With the best level rider on the general classification in this breakaway being Liam and Nick White at 1 minute 21. They really don't have to drive them back with such anxiety, do they? They can catch them very, very late.
And now we're just hearing from Race Radio that the peloton has got the breakaway within their sight. No official update on the time set, but they can see them. And you know these roads. It's quite a long road. You can get some vision for around about a minute or so in terms of the gaps on the road. Peloton's got the breakaway well contained. But that despite, I really do hope that Liam and Nicholas White can make it into Buninyong, at least that first time through, still ahead of the main field.
Yeah, well, I think the gap is blowing out ever so slightly, so maybe the peloton's getting ready for a last-ditch effort into the gutter to try and split the field before they get into Buninyong. But I think they've got enough time. They've got about 9 kilometres until they reach Buninyong, this front group of 4. Only 4 riders remain, and they're the 4 strongest in this breakaway. I reckon they can make it.
Well, they'll make it to Buninyong, but they won't make it to the top of Mount Buninyong.
No, I definitely agree with you there. It's going to be a very brutal climb for these 4 riders, but I'm very excited about having some Ballarat riders involved in this front group. Thanks, Matt, and we'll see you down here at the finish in not much time.
Thanks, Pat.
Well, Nicholas White and Liam White, it's been a pleasure to call them today. You know, they're local boys. I'm from Ballarat, as people were well aware. So it gives me a lot of enjoyment to see them performing well here today. They've got about 7.5 kilometres until they get into Buninyong, and I can tell you they will be driven, these 2 riders, to make it into Buninyong in this front breakaway, because it is very important to put themselves on show for their locals. They wanted to ride this Herald Sun Tour so they could perform here in Ballarat. They wanted to get into this breakaway today, and well, they made no mistakes of getting into the breakaway. And I tell you, the rider out there in front, it's not the rider on screen, it's Etienne Van Empel from Roompot. He's really been good out there today too, and he'll be a great person to have in the breakaway for them. The Dutchies always are honest. They always take their turn at the front of the group as well. So those 4 riders, to recap, is Nicholas White, Liam White, Alistair Donoghue and Etienne Van Empel. They are the 4 riders that remain in the front in this breakaway. There was originally 7, and then the rider from the Interpro Stradale team, 22-year-old Ken Levi Eichland, the Norwegian. He couldn't handle the heat, started to cramp, and also complained about having a crook gut. He's now pulled out from the event. We're hearing that he may not be in the event anymore, but we hope that he can make it to the finish line. It's a very difficult circumstances. 1 minute and 10 seconds is the lead for this group, 6 kilometres from Buninyong. It looks like they're going to make their way into Buninyong in the front. So if you're on the ground and you're a Ballarat local, make sure you really cheer for Liam and Nick White. Well, maybe Alistair Donoghue is one of your favourites for the day, so you might be cheering for Alistair Donoghue as well. We mentioned earlier Ryan Thomas and Shane Archibald, their birthdays today, so we wish them all the best in this finale as well. Ryan Thomas, he's a good opportunity on this course actually. If he can get over the top of the Mount Buninyong ascent, he's got a quick sprint on him. And if it's a reduced peloton, he may just have what it takes to have a huge upset and a great result. These riders have really done a great job out here today to stay out in front. 30 kilometres was all that had been covered before they broke away. So that's almost 170 kilometres ago. And they continue to work hard. It's great to see that they're going to reach Buninyong 1 minute and 5 seconds. So the peloton playing with the breakaway a little bit. They had them back to 58 seconds. They let them go back out to 1.5 minutes. And then they've brought them back into 1 minute and 5 seconds. This is the lead group that you're looking at on your screens now. Thank you for joining the live stream. I know we've had some technical difficulties today, but it is an absolute pleasure not only to be able to bring the pictures, but it's a great pleasure for myself to be able to call this action for you. I hope you've enjoyed the action already so far this week in the women's first ever UCI Herald Sun Tour, presented by Let's Go Motorhomes. And well, wasn't Brodie Chapman fantastic in that event to take it out? She's really put herself on the women's world tour map. But now this is the Surfside Holiday Parks Warrnambool, stage 2 of the 2018 men's Jayco Herald Sun Tour, as Alistair Donoghue, he's really driving the pedals. And well, ladies and gentlemen at home, get ready for the fireworks on Mount Buninyong, because it's going to happen as the gap continues to close in. 57 seconds. So the gap keeps changing, keeps coming down. But what we can tell you is it looks like this group of 4 riders will make it in. This is the final sort of rise before they'll come down on a false flat and then head down into Buninyong. They'll head into Buninyong, they'll turn right at the roundabout, the major roundabout on the first corner of the National Road Championship circuit here in Buninyong. They'll take a right-hand turn, 9.7 kilometres to go, and they will start the ascent of the King of the Mountain, the Cat 3 King of the Mountain, which will finish at the King of the Mountain point of the National Road Circuit. The climb itself is 2.5 kilometres. The King of the Mountain climb is 2.5 kilometres. And well, 57 seconds, as we said, is the confirmed gap back to the peloton as they go up this last rise. They've just got to keep pushing themselves. I'm very proud of Liam and Nick White out there today representing Ballarat, but so too I am proud of Alistair Donoghue. He's done a great ride, and the Dutchie from Roompot, Etienne Van Empel, just 23 years of age. All these riders in this group are young. It's fantastic to see them put themselves right out in the front, give themselves a great opportunity. And I've got to say, Van Empel and particularly Liam White look very, very good at the moment. And maybe they can stay in front for a bit longer than we expect. They'll go up this false flat here, come down, and they've got about 1.5 kilometres before they'll come into Buninyong. As the bikes start to pass, they're the scouts to keep the circuit safe for these riders. We cover back to the pictures here. So many school children on the ground. It's a beautiful town, Buninyong, host of the National Road Championships here in January. And well, they've decorated the road, the school children, as they did yesterday. They continue to write messages here on the street for the riders as they come in. And well, it's going to be beautiful to see the town of Warrnambool and Ballarat on display. It'll go to Eurosport and SBS, so keep an eye on your TV guides for the highlights packages. But this is the live stream. This is happening as we see it, as it is Van Empel from Roompot. He is leading the charge. Nick White continues to drive the pedals. He's got the big gear on. So too does Alistair Donoghue. But have a look at Liam White. He looks fantastic there in the seat. He's got the high cadence. He knows he's got to preserve the legs, because when they come into Ballarat, he's going to have to go up that King of the Mountain the fastest he has ever gone up there before. And being a local, he and his brother, Nick White, they know this climb like the back of their hand. Well, Liam White, the only rider there with the disc brakes on. He's the rider second in the group. So on the front's Alistair Donoghue. Then it is Liam White from Drapac Education first. As the gap now comes under 50 seconds, they've really got to drive it to survive here. It is Van Empel then from Roompot, Netherlands Lottery. And then it is on the back, Nicholas White. He'll be just as motivated to drive this to make sure he and his brother Liam arrive in Ballarat, Buninyong, ahead of the peloton. 50 seconds is the time gap, but more and more bikes pass. It's starting to come down. Alistair Donoghue there for Mobius Bridge Lane. Nicholas White there for Oliver's Real Foods. Really representing their domestic teams with great pride. I hope you're enjoying the live coverage of this, the Surfside Holiday Parks Warrnambool Stage 2. Time gap 50 seconds, showing up on the screen at 49. We won't argue over 1 second. Well, it can be the difference sometimes though, as it is Nick White that continues to take up the lead of the breakaway. He's trying to drive it so they can arrive in Buninyong. 12 kilometres to go in the stage, just 12 kilometres to go in the stage. They're absolutely pouring everything in now as Nick White, when he peels off, he freewheels. That's how hard he's been going on the front. He wants to help his brother as much as himself get into Ballarat. This is really a significant day for them in their debut Herald Sun Tour races. This has meant a lot to these guys to start in this, the 2018 edition of the Herald Jayco Herald Sun Tour. From wherever you're looking at these images around the world, we thank you for tuning in and hope you're enjoying the telecast. We look to build on this coverage. It's a great privilege to be able to bring these images. And well, today, very special for me personally, because we finish in Buninyong, just outside my hometown. It's amazing already to watch the National Championships, the best riders in the country fighting out for the national colours each year here in January. But today is another special day as the Jayco Herald Sun Tour comes back to regional Victoria. We started in Colac yesterday, finished in Mary Street, Warrnambool, and riders that were pre-race favourites for the general classification. Some of them no longer in contention, but they will still look for stage victories tomorrow and Sunday. Rider that comes to mind, Nathan Earls, one rider. He was a pre-race favourite to run in the top 5. Unfortunately missed the split yesterday, and then that crash that involved Laurent Didier broke his bike in half. Go on to the social media for the hashtag Sun Tour. You'll be able to see all of the content that the riders, the staff and the teams share during the event. And it'll give you links to the live results. It'll give you links to the riders' photos of the day. And some incredible images, as we saw earlier. If you joined us on the coverage, you would have seen that brutal crash that involved Laurent Didier from Trek Segafredo yesterday. Unfortunately, he has had to go home. He's been flown home today with injuries. He didn't break anything, but injuries were bad enough where he needed to come home. These riders look like they're definitely going to make it into Buninyong, but they're looking over their shoulders every moment to make sure where is the peloton. Continues to be Alistair Donoghue. He's doing the work now, and they can see now they're coming into the outskirts of Buninyong. This is where it becomes real for these two Ballarat boys. They're going to come into their hometown in the front of this race. Nick White looks really quite concerned. He's looking back. The riders will no longer be able to take feed from their cars. The final 20 kilometres, feeding is not allowed from the team cars. As Nick White, he's thrown down an attack. The local boy, he wants to come into Ballarat first. It's the Rombut rider of Van Empel who responds first. Liam White then follows Van Empel. Alistair Donoghue, he's just composed there. Or is he? They're really driving this pace. Maybe Alistair Donoghue's struggling a little bit. So Nicholas White from Oliver's Real Food, he throws down the first attack from this breakaway. What will Van Empel do? The Dutchies wouldn't be surprised for a counter attack here from the Dutchie once Nicholas White stops. Well, he's in the white sandwich, Van Empel. It's a white sandwich. He's the meat in the sandwich at the moment. So it's Nicholas White in the front. He's driving it. Then it is Van Empel from Rombut. Behind him, Liam White. This is the leads. They're coming down now. As you can see, Donoghue, he's going to still try and get back in. But maybe Donoghue's had enough. And then you see it's Benelong Swiss Wellness. They're on the front of the peloton. Behind them it is the team of Trek Segafredo. Where are the Mitchelton Scott riders? They're back in the pack. Not in the best position, in fact. So here we go. It's all set now. The riders did make it into Buninyong, but only by the metres. Only by 20 or 30 metres. It's all ready. The action is going to be absolutely fireworks on this climb. Nick White continues to drive it. What an impressive effort today. They looked there. Start of the King of the Mountain. 2.5 kilometres is the ascent. That was a really well-timed attack. Now it looks like his brother's going to have a go. Can Van Empel hold on? That was a great ride by Nicholas White. Well done today, mate. That was a great ride. It's a tough effort. 200 kilometres they've ridden as Van Empel now goes, and it looks like Liam White is now struggling as well, the local boy. It's maybe a little bit of a head crack as well when you know what this climb can do to you, but it's Van Empel, the rider we said looked the strongest in this breakaway, the Dutchie. But look at Joseph Cooper. He is pouring the herd on here. It's a headwind up the climb today, but Joseph Cooper, he's on the front. He is putting down a truckload of wattage. They call him JC Driver, and that's because he loves to drive the pack. He pulls off. Now it is Sam Crone that sets the pace. Very talented rider from Bendigo. Well, isn't this an interesting one? For mine, if they're like this, then Steele Von Hoff feels very, very good today. As now we see Pat Lane moving up the outside as well. And Pat Lane makes his move up the side of the peloton. Well, this is very interesting now. What's going to occur? This is the highway section of the climb for those that don't know. They then go over just a little bit of a rise here. This is a steep part of the highway. It'll then plateau out for about 300-400 metres. Then goes almost flat. False flat to the left-hand corner. Well, this is James Whelan. James Whelan's made a move. He's at 1:21 on the general classification, James Whelan. And I can tell you, he should have won the Tour of Tasmania last year, but a bit of an error in the final stage meant that he finished third. He finished second here in January on this road course in the Under-23 National Road Championship, which was taken out by Drapac Education First rider. It was taken out by Drapac Education First rider, should I say, Cyrus Monk. So it is James Whelan. He's not mucking around. He's a minute 52. My correction, he's a minute 52 back on the general classification. So the other general classification riders do not need to respond immediately to this attack. But this kid, he could go all the way. He's got the talent, there's no doubt. Who will make the next move? So from the Quartermentha Real Estate Australian national team, James Whelan. He's in the big chain ring and he's pushing as hard as he can. This is a very good move here by James Whelan. Bit of picture breakup. We apologise for that. But we should have clear pictures. It looks like it's Nathan Earl now. Nathan Earl that's made the move. Another rider that knows this climb so well. It is in fact Nathan Earl, also at a minute 53. So these two riders, very similar position on the general classification. Nathan Earl not waiting to have any help either. He's just getting on with business. This is the left-hand turn. They turn off the highway section of the climb, slightly downhill, and this will allow these riders to get some recovery, drop the heart rate, and get ready to tackle the most difficult part of the King of the Mountain. Remembering this is a Category 3 King of the Mountain, so there are 12 points on offer for the winner over the top, 8 points for second, and 4 points for third. So the winner of this King of the Mountain will probably take the leader's King of the Mountain jersey after today's stage, as I really can't see Etienne Van Empel factoring for third. So it is Nathan Earl from Israel Cycling Academy, the Taswegian. He's on the front. James Whelan, the young, exceptional, talented rider from Quartermentha Real Estate Australia, he rides for here. He rides domestically for the Inform Made team. And well, Nathan Earl, he's not holding back. Be great to see some pictures of the peloton. We'll try and bring those to you, see if anyone's coming across to these two. They'll get slight respite, but even though on the screen it looks like the climb goes downhill, that is still uphill all the way. Maximum percentage at the top, about 16%, which they'll be hitting in about 200 metres time. So about 450 metres to go on this King of the Mountain. And well, this is a very smart move. When they go over the top of the climb, they'll have just 6.3 kilometres remaining in the stage. And both these riders know this course extremely well. It's just 3 weeks ago they were here fighting it out for medals and national colours. As we now see 500 metres to go to the top of the King of the Mountain. They'll reach the top of the actual ascent. It then comes over the top and goes downhill ever so slightly. Falls flat downhill to the King of the Mountain sprint line. And while it looks like Nathan Earl, he's motivated for these King of the Mountain points. But James Whelan, he'll be thinking this is an opportunity as well for him. Right now we're hearing that the pack is being controlled by Mitchelton Scott. Nathan Earl continues to drive at about 350 metres from the top of the climb. This is a really smart move by both these riders. Firstly by James Whelan. As soon as the breakaway got pulled in, it was Joseph Cooper from New Zealand for the Bennelong Swiss Wellness team. He drove the pace on the climb. Then it was taken up by his teammate Sam Crome. But Sam Crome seemed to drop the pace a little bit, and that's when James Whelan took advantage of that opportunity. He attacked, and then Nathan Earl has come across. Here we go. They're going to have the sprint here for the King of the Mountain. I can see that James Whelan's interested, but can Nathan Earl take it out, or will it be James Whelan? Nathan Earl. Oh, maybe he's not even... No, it doesn't even look. Very smart move here by the young Whelan. That's great to see. He hasn't tried to take the points. He's thinking of the stage today. And I tell you what, earlier in the week in the women's first ever UCI Herald Sun Tour, we saw Brodie Chapman take a fantastic underdog result. She took out the tour. Very unexpected. Can James Whelan do the same here today in Buninyong on this iconic National Road Championship circuit? 208 kilometres is the distance of the stage, and they finish it here on the circuit that the National Championship is decided each year. As the group Guerrero and also Chavez have now joined the lead duo. Also there, it looks like it is Harper. That was Matt Keenan's pre-race pick. Oh, brilliant pick. Harper has followed the move from Chavez and Guerrero. Guerrero was in the front group of 9 yesterday. Harper and Chavez were back in the second group. Chris Harper, 21st on the general classification at 40 seconds as Larry Warbass makes his way back. Damien Howson, Alex Edmondson. Looks like it might be Kunda Court. Also there is, it looked like it was the rider of Steele Von Hoff is there. And now a big group of riders back. So now we'll look to see if anyone we can find has been dropped. I haven't seen yellow. Was that the yellow jersey just there? Maybe it was. Well, it looks like we've got a group of about 30 to 35 riders that are going to go to the line. Steele Von Hoff looks like he's made it over the King of the Mountain. He's the fastest rider there that I could see. And who's on the back trying to make it back? Is it Zach Dempster also in there? Lionel Mordaunt right at the back. I saw Patrick Lane in there as well for Quarter Mentha. So Nathan Earl and James Whelan, they up the pace. Nathan Earl will be in the King of the Mountains jersey for Iceaway Sports at the end of the day. The rider at the back here is Angus Lyons, also a Ballarat local boy. So Angus Lyons trying his best to finish in the front of this race that finishes in his hometown. We just earlier saw Nicholas and Liam White make their way into the finish. Well, can someone do a Miles Scottson? Now, he won the national title here in 2017. Can someone make that magic move? Maybe someone's got the big chain ring on today and can make that special move, take the lead of this tour. Who could it be? Maybe a Mads Pedersen for Trek Segafredo, the Danish national champion. He's got the engine to do so. Well, it is fantastic to be able to bring you these live pictures. As the JLT rider here, that's Gibson. He was in the Young Riders jersey just yesterday. Lost a minute 32 in yesterday's stage though, so he's trying to fight his way back. He's quick on the he's quick on the line. Well, definitely two teams with major numbers there, Mitchelton Scott and Bennelong Swiss Wellness. Bennelong had a plan when they hit the climb with Joseph Cooper driving to the line up the King of the Mountain in Buninyong. It sent a clear message to me, knowing the way they race. That meant that Steele Von Hoff said he was in good condition and able to follow any moves on the King of the Mountain. He remains in this group. Can they get organised for the lead out though? They bundled that up yesterday. They still had a rider. They had Cam Bailey in the front group yesterday, but he was unable to assist his faster teammate. It's Steele Von Hoff in the finish. That's what it's going to come down to. This is a really big group, I must admit. This is a surprisingly large group to make it to the finish. Right at the back there, it is Michael Hepburn. Yesterday he played shepherd role. He was shepherd of Chavez, made sure Chavez survived the crosswinds. Well, Esteban was one of the first riders to make the junction across to James Whelan and Nathan Earl. Unlike in the National Championship this year where they turned right just now, they'll continue straight all the way. They continue straight all the way until they'll turn left onto the Geelong Road back into Mount Buninyong. So just about 4 kilometres remaining, 4.5 kilometres remaining in the stage. Yes, there's 4.3 kilometres right now, so the stage is really now in the hard part. The teams need to get organised. And well, you can see those bright jerseys of Bennelong Swiss Wellness. That's the fluoro colours. Easier to decipher their colours than many of the other teams, but they need to get organised today. They really need to get organised for Steele Von Hoff. He's definitely the quickest there. He proved it yesterday. But it's not always who's the quickest. It's also about who's the smartest. And last Norman Hansen, he's still in there. Could see the yellow jersey. And he'll be looking for a fast finish yesterday. He was very, very complimentary of Steele Von Hoff. He said yesterday, I'm so happy to beat the likes of a world-class sprinter like Steele Von Hoff. That was a big compliment. Can Steele Von Hoff live up to the hype? Trying to see Matthew Gibson. He has made his way back, Matt Gibson, for JLT Condor. I know he's a young rider, but he is a fast rider, and he's not intimidated. He won a UCI stage of the Tour of New Zealand just 2 weeks ago. Michael Hepburn still sticks at the back. Larry Warbass, he's there for the team of Aqua Blue Sports, so maybe he's there to lead out his leader's jersey of Laz Norman Hansen. Or maybe they'll turn to Shane Archibald, the birthday boy. I don't think he would have got over the top though. Great for Trek Segafredo to have Guerrero there. He's their GC man. And well, trying to see some of the other numbers. Yeah, look at Bennelong Swiss Wellness getting organised now. That's what they need to do. They would have been given a scolding, I reckon, last night in the team's managers meeting. The green jersey's there as well of Matthew Ross. He's got a quick sprint on him too. Don't worry, Matt Ross has got a bit of a sprint. But it is Bennelong. They're getting organised down the right-hand side of the peloton. James Whelan down the left. He needs to stay in that group. Lionel Mordaunt there for the national team as well. There's a few riders there for the Bridge Lane Mobius team. Where is Cameron Meyer? Cameron Meyer, haven't seen Cameron Meyer just yet. You'd have to assume that he's there. You would have to assume. But Nathan Earl, before we run into this finish, it'll be Nathan Earl that takes on the King of the Mountains jersey at the end of the day. Who will win this stage and who will potentially take the leader's jersey? Well, they're just inside 1.4 kilometres to go. This is the fastest part of the circuit, but today they'll be welcomed with a headwind. It'll be a headwind sprint, so it'll be who can time it the best. Doesn't look like anyone's going to try the Miles Scottson big move at a kilometre to go. 1 kilometre to go. And well, now we're ready to see, can Benelong execute today? Steele Von Hoff second yesterday. Lasse Norman Hansen took out the stage. Can he get up there again in the Golden Fleece as they come down now? They'll be able to see the finishing arch in just about another 150 metres time. Definitely better to sprint down the right-hand side of the road today. With the southeasterly, it'll be coming across the front of the riders. Here they come now. It's a big lead out. It is the yellow jersey on the front, the big yellow jersey. He's peeled for Mads Petersen. It will be Trek Segafredo. It's Kunda Court. He does the big launching sprint, but have a look at Anthony Giacomo. He's peeled. Where's the riders now? It's Steele Von Hoff. He's on the right wheel. He's come off, and it's going to be Steele Von Hoff. He's going to go to the line. He hasn't made any mistakes today. Steele Von Hoff by millimetres, I reckon. But it is the rider from Trek Segafredo, Kunda Court, who has saluted. It's Kunda Court that has saluted. Steele Von Hoff, it was very close. Big lunge on the line. It's going to come down to the wire well and truly. How is that from the yellow jersey? He sacrificed himself there. He launched the sprint early. Well, we'll wait for results to come through. It's very, very close. Kunda Court has saluted on the line. Kunda Court has saluted on the line, but it looks like Kunda Court has taken out the stage. Steele Von Hoff, Mads Petersen, should I say. It's Mads Petersen, the Danish champion. He looks like he's got just over the top of Steele Von Hoff by the smallest of margins. Steele Von Hoff, he lunged on the line. His teammates did everything, Anthony Giacomo. But how was the lead out by Trek Segafredo? Mads Petersen, Danish champion. Is this the Tour de Denmark? I don't know. They're taking over the Danes here in Victoria. Been great to have you on the stream today, and I hope you'll join me tomorrow live and for the Lake Mountain Ascent. Thank you very much. Just seeing the images now of Mads Petersen. That was a big victory, a big sprint. Guerrero, their GC rider, the Portuguese champion, made it over the top of the King of the Mountain. Isolated at the start, but then the big group came on, and what a fantastic lead out it was by Kunda Court for his Danish champion teammate Mads Petersen. Steele Von Hoff, second again. Bridesmaid 2 days in a row, but that may be enough for Steele Von Hoff to take over the lead of the tour. Thank you for joining me. We'll see you tomorrow on the stream.